Alright, so day two of recording this video. The first half got corrupted, so we're gonna restart. Um, so what this basically is a pretty in-depth tutorial on how to get started on Vatsim, both as a pilot and on ATC. I've been, let's see, it's been a year now. I've been on the Vatsim network, first as a pilot, then now as an ATC. Um, Basically, for those of you that don't know what Vatsim is that it's basically a network that allows you to load up a flight simulator of any kind, or at least the major ones, and connect to a network where you can see other pilots, see other people on the network, get controlled by ATC, allows you to show up on our radar. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much the basis of it. It's just an online network to get as close to real life as possible when it comes to aviation. And so what this tutorial is about is basically for people to get started. I know a lot of new people are coming into the community because of the new simulator release. I know a lot of new ATC are coming in, new pilots are coming in, and so this is basically that intro course to everything Vatsim. So when you first come to the Vatsim network, you want to be able to make an account and join here. And you can read all this user conduct, registering. Um, there's a sign up page right here, and go through all of that and get your CID and password set up. That's your first step. Once you got your CID and password set up, after 48 or 24 hours, you'll be able to log onto the network. Now, you really don't want to go into the network if you're completely new and just jump right in. It's pretty important that you do some research prior and do some reading of yourself before you get on. So how we do that is that Vatsim actually has a pretty nice course set up. So under pilots, we'll go to getting started, just here. So we'll join Vatsim. We already have our CAD. So now we're going to familiarize with the basics. So, there's a lot that comes with air traffic control. Talking with ATC and interacting and, flight plans and equipment codes and SIDs and stars, and it can be very overwhelming. And so, um, Vatsim actually has a pretty nice learning center set up. So we'll go to vatsim.net, pilots, pilot resource center, and you show up here. This is the pilot learning center. It's actually a pretty nice thing that's set up. Um, it wasn't here when I first joined in, and so it would have been really nice to have that when I first joined. There's some 10 rules of thumb here. The new member orientation course is the first thing you should look at. Has a bunch of basic things on VATSIM, simulators, call signs. There's stuff on, let's see, pilot expectations, basic procedures, Unicom, flight plans. We'll get into flight planning later, but yeah, super important to get through that. Um, all these courses are pretty useful. I've kind of clicked through all of them. The VATSIM basics is actually pretty nice. Just being familiar with the code of conduct is pretty important. Um, what not to do, what not to squawk, especially. Um, so yeah, there's a bunch of materials here for the basics all the way up to the master classes. So that's pretty much it. You kind of just learn, you do your research, how to talk, search up YouTube videos of people talking on VATSIM, search up YouTube videos of real life people talking with ATC and like phraseology and procedures because um, it bleeds over quite a lot, and so it can be very useful. The more knowledgeable you are, just the more confident you'll be when you're on the network, and that confidence really helps out us ATC. Um, when choosing when to come onto the network, it's when you do get trained and you do, um, finally get everything set up, it's preferred that you start small and then work your way up. So don't later on we'll get into this event thing. These events are filled with ATC and most of all filled with aircraft. So if you're completely new and you aren't used to hearing ATCs talk a million miles an hour, um, don't go to these events when you first start. Sorry, just don't go because you want to be able to be experienced before you get on. You want to know what you're doing before you get on, and then you know, if you are new, the biggest thing is like we can't devote our time to help you out if you're new. If we're not busy, and I'll show you later on when we're on ground, like there's going to be like one aircraft on the ground, it's not that big of a deal for us to like take our time and help you out. But if we're in the middle of an event, like my last stream in Reno, it can be very hard to devote time. And so because we just don't have the time, we're too busy. Um, Moving on from that, how to connect on the network. So once we're familiarizing with the basics, we've learned stuff about aviation. We know how to talk on frequency. We've done a bit of practice, but we haven't actually talking to any ATC. So how to do that is we can load up our simulator and connect to the network using pilot clients. So this is a really nice table here about what clients are here, what do you need. vPilot and XPilot have audio for Vatsim built in. Um, so what that is like vPilot and XPilot have audio for Vatsim, and that's a new audio codec that was released last year that increases the realisticness of the audio communications. One of the biggest features is that uh, what do you call it? Like it can tell how far you are away from a frequency. So if you're too far from a frequency, uh, the transmission will get staticky, and so it does simulate that. That's one of the many features of audio for VATSIM, and it's required if you want to come on the VATSIM network. For vPilot and XPilot is already built in. vPilot is for everything that's not explained, and then XPilot is what I use most of the time for explain. Is a great resource, and we'll get into how to install that. So, um, the pilot client is actually what like connects to your simulator, um, and basically what it does is that it allows you to connect to the network, and it syncs with your sim. With XPilot, it can sync your comm volumes, it can sync your standby ident flight plan, all that, your transponder, it all syncs up. So here we are on the XPilot page. If you're on Xplane, you'll download XPilot. If you're on 2020, you'll click down here, load on vPilot, and get that in. Setup's pretty simple. You press download. There's for XPilot. There's a lot of documentation on XPilot. Highly suggest going through the user guide and going through everything one by one by one, just so that you're as knowledgeable as possible with all the features of XPilot. And beyond that, XPilot has a pretty cool Discord, a lot of support there. If you have any issues, a lot of people there willing to help you out. vPilot's pretty simple. You just download it, extract, open up the exe. Um, Before we continue, none of this is sponsored. This is just me giving my knowledge on the Vatsim network to those who need it. So when we connect up, we're going to open XPilot. There's a few things we're going to want to set up first, both in the XPilot and in Xplane's XPilot plugin. So in the XPilot plugin in Xplane, you'll set up your CSL folder, which you'll know how to do from your online documentation. Then you want to go into settings, have your Vatsim ID set up, do all that. I have it set to stable. Leave these as B. You can change them if you want. You can take this aircraft volume knobs, control the volume, or it would be controlled by the sliders. Input output, super important. Um, COM1 volume, COM2 volume, that's at your discretion, but the biggest thing is your mic volume. And so when you're talking, you want it to be, majoring in the green area. So I'm a little bit below, but at points it'll get to the green and touch the red just a little bit. So maybe I can bump it up just a little bit. But I'm I've been fine with this on the network, and so yeah, it's super important to set that up so that you're not too loud or not too quiet on the Vatsim network. Biggest thing is Another big thing is the push to talk. You don't want to be on always constantly transmitting on frequency. So setting up this push to talk button, I have it set up on my Xbox controller. Um, Setting up that push to talk button is super important. You'll just press in, that's when you'll transmit. Xpilot also has this cool guided setup. It'll walk you through everything. Super helpful for those that are new. When you're ready to connect, there's a few things you have to do. We'll fire a flight plan. Especially if you go to IFR, most common kind of flight plan, um, you're gonna have to file a flight plan. So a lot of this, so there's departure, destination alternate, time en route, fuel available, cruise speed, all this, you can manually calculate it, but I'll show you later how to use SimBrief, which is super useful, and I can export these flight plans. If I was going from Oakland to Los Angeles, I just double click and there's my route. This is a preferred routing from Oakland to Los Angeles. We have alternate set up. Like SimBrief already calculated these numbers, and so just put it in, send and receive, file flight plan. Pretty easy. When you're ready to connect, we'll press connect. It will say connected to the Vatsim network. Whenever your aircraft is in motion, code of conduct is that you turn on mode C. Um, there are places where you don't need mode C, but it's always just good practice to have mode C on. When ATC will ask you to ident, you will click the ident button here, and that's pretty much it. When you connect, you'll see all the controllers online in your range. You'll see what frequencies COM1 and COM2 are on. When you transmit with your push to talk, you'll see the transmit button light up, and then receive should be on whatever you want. vPilot's pretty similar. Pretty similar setup. Looks just about the same, and that's for a pretty good reason. All the things uh, are the same. All the buttons do the same thing. You want to set up your push to talk, set up audio, set up your mic. Um, yeah, so just make sure that its peaking remains in the green when speaking normally. Again, mine's a little low, but it's not the end of the world, as you know, I've never had problems with it. Um, there's some more settings in here around uh, all this. You can set it up, and it's all your customization when it comes to vPilot. When it comes to 2020 flight plan, same thing, same setup. Load from file, same setup. Connecting, ident, same thing. That's basically how you connect onto the network. Once you connect for the first time, I suggest like listening to ATC conversations and just sitting there or doing a simple pattern. Um, if you're unfamiliar with that, just look up a VFR pattern on Google. Um, it's pretty simple. So, how I actually get started. So, if I wanted to fly on the Vatsim network, um, there's a few things I wanna do. So once we've got a pilot client set up, I want to know what ATC is up. So I'll go to a website called Vatastic. There's other programs, other apps, other things you can use. But Vatastic is a really nice, easy one. It's free, just a website. So we can see all the planes online, all the ATC online, And as you can see, it's pretty busy in Europe. On the weekdays, around this time, around 10 o'clock California time, Europe is pretty busy. So let's go through each one. Each red thing, this little gray area here, is a center. So this is a someone who's on the center position, controlling every airport below him that's unstaffed. It's what we call a top-down um, controlling architecture. Is that if you're the first person who's above you controls everything below him. So if Senna was online, actually this is a perfect example. Senna's online, but there's no ATC anywhere below him except this ground guy. There's someone on ground. Um, Center will provide ATC services from delivery all the way up to center at an unstaffed airport. So that just allows more people to come on and experience ATC. And centers are allowed to do that as they've been trained um, in every part of ATC from ground to center. So this yellow square means there's a ground online. I'm ground rated. Someone's on ground there. The cyan means someone is on tower. So they'll be giving you landing clearances, pattern work, separation. Approach is these blue circles. They'll be getting everyone on the arrivals and departures. And then obviously the red would be center again. So back into the US, where I'm most familiar with, we've got a few centers on. Looks like Memphis, Atlanta's up. DC is up. That's rare. Um, yeah. In a few seconds, I'll connect up on Oakland ground, which I'm very surprised there's not a single flight out of San Francisco or Oakland. Or, wait, no, they're done here. Whoops. Yeah. So I'll connect up here. Looks like we got 3 arrivals. Let's see. Alright, cool. Yeah, I'll hop on there in a second. So this is just a really good thing for situational awareness, what ATC is on. So if you want to do a short flight, Memphis to Atlanta, pretty good to do at this time. Uh, let's see. Next is just getting on and doing it really. So if I wanted to get on, that's what I do. So let's do the Memphis to Atlanta thing. So I know that I want to take a trip to Memphis and Atlanta. So I'm going to fill out my best friend, uh, SimBrief. So once we create an account in SimBrief, pretty easy. Just go register, create an account. We're going to go to a dispatch system. We're going to create a new flight. Let's see, what call sign do I want to do? I'm part of a VA, so let's do that. United 450, that's our call sign today. Um, we'll depart out of Memphis. We'll land at Atlanta. Departure time, we can leave at, I usually give it an hour to allow the sun to set up. Airframe, I have a lot of set profiles here for all the planes that I usually fly, so Tolus is here, the Neo mods are there, XUGs, I got a Carinados, all the flight factors, the SSG, all the Zebo stuff, and then SimBrief has its own profiles, but especially for the Zebo, the numbers don't really match up perfectly, and so I'll show that. I'll just show the Zebo one because that's the one I use the most. Um, let's see. So these are my numbers for the Zebo thing. These weights are super important, and using some videos I found online, I got these numbers pretty bang on, and so yeah. So what you just pick your profile. So I'd probably go in the Zebo with 160 passengers. Call sign United 450. OFP is Lido. I kind of like putting out Ryanair though because there's in the 737 there's just some other um, things we want to fill out that are just readily available on the Ryanair OFP. Units, pounds, auto. I don't like step climbs because it's just a headache to figure out on Vatsim. Just pick one altitude. Step climbs would be like um, as you get to a waypoint, you step up because you're lighter. That's really for a long haul though. These I just keep the same. You can you can check the ATIS on Vatastic and see what their departing and arriving runways are at the moment, so you can pick that. Um, Altitude I leave it on auto. All the rest of this I leave on auto. Then you have your route. You could pick this route. You could pick this route. Pick this route. There's a whole bunch of routes. If you have Navigraph, you can hook it up to get the latest air rack. I don't, but I do know how to check what the latest air racks are. So if I need to update the versions on these, or if points don't exist anymore, I can change it up as I wish. The rest of this I don't really use. After that, I just say generate the OFP. Now, so there's our OFP setup. This is a overview of what our flight is going to look like. This is all the information here. A lot of information. Usually, I don't use anything below the wind information. Anything below that, I don't use. Cost index here, cruising altitude, winds. Another day I can go over how to properly program all of this into the FMC. This is the big one, the downloader. If you want to have co-routes and filed flight plans from the computer so you don't have to put in the route, you can download that here. You could also download those files that you can connect up to XPilot and VPilot. That's the VPilot one here. I use that a lot. This is like the preferred method at this point because if we go to Vatsim and prefile here, it'll take us to here, which means on the ATC screen, this will be your equipment code, which is ICAO, which is not what the FAA uses. So we'll see this whole big thing show up when really all that can be shortened down to that. So that's really why I prefer to use VPilot. We'll download, and then I'll put that into my VPilot documents, and I can open it from XPilot. You could also print the PDF of this. Pretty cool. These are based off of what the real airlines use, so yeah. Alright, so that's pretty much everything that has to do with the pilot side of things. If I'm missing anything, uh, I'll probably edit it in later. I don't think that's everything though. So basically, yeah, we'll get in, we'll connect. I'll use my sim brief and just get up and fly and just be familiar with those procedures. Practice. Research as much as you can about talking to ATC as prior, and then you put that into practice on the network. You don't want to be completely clueless on the network. Um, Next, how to join as ATC. So I'm going to be talking about that you were saying, then later on specifically for the Oakland ARTCC. So once you got your CID set up, you want to make sure that you're part of VAT USA's division. Make sure you have a VAT USA account set up. As you can see, I'm an S1 at the Oakland ARTCC. First thing you want to do is you want to complete the CBDs. So what these are is a bunch of presentations, a bunch of stuff about everything that has to do with what do you call it, weather, and ATC and everything that has to do with IFR clearances, VFR clearances, and the likes of that. And I did forget something. So, for learning all these stuff about how to be in aviation and how to talk on the radio and how to fly a plane, um, really you should be able to fly a plane before you join this organization. But this is one of the greatest training organizations that I've been a part of. Again, not sponsored. Um, it's vatstar.com. Super, super great training for Vatsim and on the Vatsim network. Uh, yeah, they're a great group of guys, and I've been with them for a while, so they got me started in Vatsim. They have lessons here for the new Vatsim certifications. They only have P1 to P3, but P4 is in progress. I'm working on my P1 right now. I'm not going to show all their lessons, but this is just a taste of what they cover, and they cover a whole lot. This is just the first rating, so by the time you're in P4, you're probably as knowledgeable as those airline pilots. So back to the ACC sort of thing. So after you complete all these, you're very knowledgeable, take your notes, do your check for understandings, be familiar with clearance delivery, phraseology, what craft is, semicircular rules, all things like that. Once you do that, you'll want to go to the exam center, request an exam, and then take the exam, and then after you pass, you'll be able to join a facility in Vet USA. So the way Vatsim works is that it's divisions within divisions within divisions. Um, so there's Vatsim, then there's a Vatsim North America division. Within Vatsim North America, there's Vat USA. Within Vat USA, you have all the Arctics. So if we go back to Vatastic, we can see that each center is an Arctic, and so we can see these defined lines between the Arctics. So this is Chicago, Cleveland Center, Boston Center, DC, Atlanta, Memphis. Each one's different division within the Vet USA family. And so you get to pick one as your home facility. For the time being, visiting contracts aren't available. That allows you to control at multiple Arctics. For the time being, that's not available. So whatever Arctic you pick, choose wisely because you'll be stuck there for a while until visiting contracts open back up. Once you pass that USA exam, you can pick whatever Arctic you want to be as your home Arctic. I picked the Oakland Arctic. I'm local here. I'm from the Bay Area. Um, and so that's why I picked it. So once you pick Oakland ARTCC, it'll take a few days for Cody to set you up with an account and get you some login credentials and get you on the roster. Once you're logged in, first time login, you want to do the login, go to your training syllabus, and get this first course done. So it's the introduction to Oakland ARTCC on Vatsim. Make sure you get the lessons done, pass the orientation exam. Next, you want to set up your clients. So procedures, all these procedures are covered in that orientation quiz, all about general rules, what SMT is, how Oakland ARTCC works. There's SOPs for every position in the Oakland ARTCC from center to approach um, to ground, delivery, and tower for each of the major airports. And then there's just an overall SOP for the class deltas. Another big thing is the external letters of agreement. Very important when you're first starting out. You want to be knowledgeable with these. You want to have these up. You want to have these saved and downloaded. Basically, these are agreements with preferred routing between the centers and the Arctics. And so we have agreements between preferred routing and procedures between Oakland Center and LA, the Santa Barbara Chacon, Salt Lake City Center, and Seattle Center. So Big ones would be LA, Salt Lake City, and Seattle, as there's preferred routing there. Military, I wouldn't worry about it too much. It would be good to look over really quickly, but it's pretty rare that you see military aircraft on Vatsim. But it's good to know that it's there, and if someone does show up, you do know where to find it. Next is your downloads. It's all the specific stuff for your client. So VRC is the one I use. There's also VRAM and VStars. These are all ATC clients, ATC radar clients that we use. And so you download this, import all these sector files, alias files, POF files, import all that into VRC. There's also an aircraft update. There's a setup procedure, teach you how to do things. The VRC functions is a PDF that shows all the major commands in VRC. V-ATIS profiles, that's how we get the robot ATIS. So that gives you some profiles to work with the major airports. There's some PV rubrics, so when you get tested for your to upgrade from S1 minor to major, these are your S3 rubrics, just to know like what's expected of you at those times. There's also some training support files. The 7110 65 is basically the ATC Bible. So there's S1, S2, S3 sections of it. Teaches you how to coordinate this. VFR is here. Bay Area traffic. There's a transition about all the Bay Area traffic, as it's pretty jam-packed in there, kind of like New York, but not as busy. It's pretty jam-packed though. All right, so under VATIS, we have the rubrics, and then under the rubrics we have the training support files. So the 7110, as I said, is the Bible for the ATC. We have some VFR stuff. There's some phraseology practice sheets and some clearance amendment sheets for those starting out at S1. Super helpful. And then we have all the cheat sheets for all the ATCTs. And then we have some miscellaneous files, how to do PDC, um, how to use the alias for routing. We'll get into that when we get there. So when you first start out, make sure VRC set up. Make sure you have all that fun stuff, everything you need to do prior, all these downloads, all these procedures. Just prepare mentally and your computer prior to everything when you start training. When you start training, you're going to work through the modules here, each one going through introduction to clearances, clean clearances, amending routes, dealing with traffic, all that good stuff. And you'll progress through the routes, the modules. Uh, Ever since Corona came around, the availability section is now where controllers will post their availability and instructors will just book that session based on what times I'm available. So these are the times I'm available. And Rowan booked me a session from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock tomorrow. So I'll be with him for that. And so, yeah, that's just working through the modules there. We have a pretty cool training staff. I've been trained by pretty much all of the mentors here except Andrew, and Josh, and then um, Cody and uh, Cody and Ryan are the ATM and DATMs. And so yeah, that is the the specifics of becoming a controller in the GCC. Once you start training, you log into a session called Sweatbox, and I'll show you in a second how we connect up to VRC. So once you got your S1 rating, you want to open up VRC. Alright, so now I'm going to get into what I actually have set up on my second monitor apart from the radar. Um, what do I have set up on my other monitor? So I have this little folder here in my bookmarks bar. Um, let's open all 15 tabs. This is what I have set up on my other monitor. It's a lot of stuff, but it is actually very, very useful. And I reference a lot of the tabs, especially when I was first starting out. Alright, so let's head to Oakland. Sky Vector is a great, great time, and it's a great kind of tool to build routes. So it's very, very useful when building a route to some place that doesn't have an LOA, doesn't have preferred routing in the alias. You're like, you don't know what to do. So let's see. Let's pick a random airport. We have a LOA with Santa Barbara. Let's not due to the Air Force Base. Let's do Hawthorne. What is Hawthorne's ICAO code? That's John Wayne. Let's see. Hawthorne KHHR. I'm pretty sure there isn't an LOA with them. It's really easy to go like Candle for Young. See what that ends up. Alright, so that gets me to Young. Uh, well, if you're familiar with some points to test them out, some points that are right next to each other, is Cisco and Red Hat. Those match up well together. And we have SIDS going to Cisco, and there's stars going to Red Hot for some LOA airports. There is obviously the LA one. Oops. There's the LA one where we go of A to Burgle. Those match up pretty nicely here. There's also Mickey to LA. And so when we're doing a route to San Diego, it's almost always gonna do the Coast 9 to Mickey and then LAX for the comics too. That's almost always the San Diego route. There's some other ones out there. Um, Let me try and find them. There is Mickey and Young. Young and Mickey are right next to each other. They match up well with Tilt for what is it, John Wayne, I think. I think John Wayne has Tilt too. There you go. That's your preferred routing to Tilt 2. It could also, if they are RNAV, you also have the option of giving them this. Those work together. Mickey and Young are right next to each other, so that's fine. You also have, let's see. There is Lotion. Oops. There's Lotion. Oh, that's how you spell it. There's Lotion and Clashin. They used to fit well together. Clashin has a few routes into some places. I think it's Long Beach or something like that. Let's see. Pacific 2. No, yeah, they have Red Hot. So yeah, those are just a few kind of waypoints that you can match up together in Sky Vector, um, if they're going to some random place in the middle of nowhere. So Sky Vector is a very useful tool. I also have all the Oakland departures. These are the main ones. Oakland 5, all northbound. Skyline 1, very common for um, the star that hooks up to Avenel, and Fellows. Fellows for the Fernando 7. Avenal for the non-RNAV LA route, Candle for Intel for Vegas, eBay for um, LAX, Cisco for anything with Red Hot, so Long Beach, Young and Mickey for San Diego. Here, San Diego, you could also go Coast 9 all the way to Santa Catalina and then direct. I also have the Oakland SOP up. It says all of our procedures for Oakland. You know, standard IFR departures. If they're north, they're on the Oakland. If they're south, they're on the Candle or those. Any additional requirements for non-departures without a SID, e-stops, noise abatement, all that good stuff. I also reference those LOAs that we can download. Shows us all of our preferred routing. So if they're coming into LAX and it's west, we want to put them on the Ironman Star. If they're not RNAV, it's the Avenal for the Sadie 8. Um, if you're coming out of San Jose, going to Long Beach or um, John Wayne, it's Fellows to Guna to Osha, Fellows to Tandy if you're on non-RNAV. Note the altitudes. It's at or above 250. Vegas is at or below 330. And then you take the sunset, the fuzzy, all that great stuff there. We also have LOAs with Salt Lake City and Seattle. Same kind of idea. I have the alias route chart. So these are all the pre-programmed tech routes within the ZOA airspace. There's also some LOAs from aliases for the LOAs with the neighboring Arctics, how to do PDCs, FlightAware if you're just completely not sure, and SkyVector you just don't know what to do. You can look up routes on FlightAware, and then equipment codes if you see someone with a slant uniform. I've never seen that before, but you know, if I see it, I might not recognize it at first, and I'll be like, oh, okay, let's check. What is that? It's a transponder with mode C, but no DME. So, this is a good page. The FA has a good page, but this is just what I have up on the other screen. And so let's go back to VRC. All right, main things for setting up VRC for training. At first, this screen will be completely black. You won't see any of this here. What you want to do is you want to first open up the sector file, VRC. I have all the sectors for the US, but I have the ZOA specific stuff here. Has sectors, the alias, the POFs, all the profiles is all. It's good to make your own folder for whatever Arctic you're in. So you open up ZOA 2010. That's the year and the month. So 2020, 10th month of the year. Open that up, and then it should pop up. All you'll see is the airports. Then you want to go to settings, general, attach your alias file. So VRC, ZOA, alias, POF file, same thing. VRC, ZOA, there's the POF. Keep the same, have assigned squawk codes in random order checked. Make sure you pick an aircraft select key. I leave it as tab, very, very useful when controlling. Airspace ground will be at 20 nautical miles. Set it up as Oakland so that it can show up on your arrival and departure fields. Flight strips for the network, this is what I do. I auto add arrival, departure, delete strip when I push it. That's what I have for the network. But since this is the Sweatbox profile, I don't have that turned on. Next, so that your squawk codes don't look weird, you want to prime up your frequency. All you'll do is you'll click a new one, you'll name it, call it Oakland Ground, look up the ground frequency, it would be 121.75, and then just save changes, leave the server and channel blank. I already have Oakland Ground here. I'll prime up, transmit, receive, done. Text only, that's good. And then when you're connecting to the Sweatbox network, you'll go in as Oakland as ground, your facility will be ground, and then you can leave that as is. Sign in with your password, say Sweatbox, say connect, and then your instructor would put in aircraft in Sweatbox. As you can see there, when I connected to Sweatbox, the weather for Oakland came up. So that's useful to have. The way we can remove that and change that is by doing this. So we'll do F2 and then K, OAK. Oh shoot, not connected. Okay. I'll log in as an observer on the network then. When you're logging as an observer, go to your Arctic, your initials, and OBS. Facility, you're an observer, MS1 rating, and then pick your server. So USA West. And then you can move up your airspace to 150 to see some more planes. As you can see, Oakland has not popped up as the current weather. If I want to add San Francisco's weather, F2 KSFO, bam, there's San Francisco's weather. We can also see that up here. So 0404, we subtract 10 from the degrees for wind. Visibility 10 miles, few clouds at 20,000. Okay. Temperature 23, altimeter 29990. There you go. No one's coming out of Oakland. We got this guy. He's landing into San Francisco. Let's see. We got a few people down here. Which I'm pretty sure this is Monterey. Yeah, this is Monterey. So they came from Concord. Let's see, we have a UPS guy here. Alright. So, if you're on the network and when you're training, this is a super useful thing when we're talking about that aircraft select. If we were super busy on the ground at Oakland and on your Sweatbox session, a lot of aircraft will fill up the screen at Oakland. Like all these spots will be filled. You have aircraft here, maybe a few here. Someone comes out to clearance, it's kind of hard to find them on the map. So what you can do is type in their call sign. So let's take Delta 3675. And use that aircraft select. So I have tab, and now it's in this box here. When it's in this box here, you can see he's yellow, and he's pointed out on the map. You can see when looking here, we have he's squawking mode C because he has that asterisk. We can see he's the MD-88. He's going to Seattle. He's at 340, going 440 knots over the ground. So yeah, that is pretty much everything to do with setting it up for Sweatbox. And then now I'll log onto the network as Oakland ground, and I'll show you guys how I do a clearance and the thought process behind that. Keep in mind that I filmed that part yesterday, and it was not the cleanest clearance in the world. But yeah, that's the idea behind ATC. I hope this all helped. And now let's move on to the active network. Alright, apologies for that. I had to restart the computer. Audio for Vatsim wasn't working for me for a hot second. So anyways, audio for Vatsim, this is what it's going to look like. We're leaving off at the same place. I'm going to go Oakland ground. Not that. I'm going to change my facility to ground. Connect up. Alright, that's all good to go. Oh, there we go. Alright, so we prime up. Go to the comms. Oakland ground. Primed on 121.75. Connect. And we're transmitting and receiving. That's good to go. Move that back to my other screen. Next thing we set up is we set up an ATC. Set up the ATC. We go to Oakland. These are profiles you download from the Oakland website as well. Oakland. This is what it looks like. I can use the DATIS where I can just copy stuff in, or I could use the other templates available. So I'm going to look up the actual Oakland DATIS real quick. I'll send him a text there. There's no one on the ground, so the briefing will be quite short. That's how we brief. We transfer control. So the current ATIS is Golf. All right. ILS and visual approaches. ILS and VA approaches, runway is 30 to airline use. Caution birds near the airport. Alright, connect, weather, transmit. ATIS is done. Weather panel. You can also have the METAR app. F2, K, OAK. We'll take that one off. I wanted San Francisco's weather. Put that on. Reno's weather. Although I don't need that for now. I need Oakland. Let's see. And that's pretty much it. So we'll come back when an aircraft spawns in and gets on the network, and then I'll show you my thought process and what we do as controllers when we see someone spawn in. All right, so a good 15 minutes, I think it's been. Usually it takes around 45 minutes to get some decent traffic, maybe one or two aircraft. But let's see, we got Air Canada 777 here, flashing at me a few things. When we look, we can see he doesn't have a flight plan, no FP, and he has a code. That means he has a duplicate squawk code. Since he has no squawk code, obviously there's someone out here who doesn't have a squawk code. So if I look it up, he's squawking 2000, and so obviously it's not a valid squawk. So we won't worry about that for now. His flight plan is empty. So now we just wait and see.
We're looking for IFR to LA.
Alright, so Air Canada 777 just filed for LA. Air Canada 777 cleared to the Los Angeles International Airport. Candle 4 departure eBay transition that has filed. Client via SID, departure frequency 132.2, squawk. There we go. 3210.
Roger that, clear to LA via the Candle 4 departures. Filed, climbed by SID. Departure frequency 132.2 and squawk code is 3210.
Air Canada 777, your readback is correct. Call me for taxi. Current ATIS information, Golf is current.
We'll get golf, we'll call for taxi. Got 777.
Alright, so what we just saw is that he called up for clearance. He had a great route. This is the standard route to Las Vegas. You can see a bunch of interesting routes. If he had no route, this is the standard RNAV route to give him. But when looking over his flight plan, let's go through each box. So Air Canada 777, that's fine. A319, he's saying he's a slant Zulu. So in this scenario, you would ask to confirm his aircraft type because slant Zulu could change his clearance. Air Canada 777, confirm your aircraft type, correction code is not a slant Zulu, it's a slant Lima.
Roger.
Roger, thank you.
Correctly.
Sorry, say it again, I stepped on you.
Roger, I believe we are Lima. Did we file that incorrectly?
Yeah, it says slant Zulu for you. I had a feeling you were a Lima, so I cleared you on a Lima route. So yeah, but we just have to make sure.
Yeah, roger that. That's my previous apologies.
No problem. Oh man, missed a lot of stuff on this flight plan. See? And Air Canada 777, sorry. Cruise altitude invalid for direction of flight. Advise whether you can accept flight level 330 or 310.
220 for Canada 777.
Roger. Expect flight level 330 10 minutes after departure. Rest of clearance unchanged.
Roger.
So, overall, pretty bad clearance for me. Don't do that on your OTS. But um, you could always amend flight plan. So the phraseology would be amended, clearance available, advice ready to copy. Uh, then you just say the part that needs to be changed. So what I said was expect flight level 320 minutes after departure. Rest of clearance unchanged. Totally valid phraseology.
And the ground Canada 777, which runner can we expect?
So you can expect runway 30 for departure.
30 it is for Canada 777.
Man, it has been a while since I've been in Oakland. It's what we train on when you first get on your S1. But I've been on Reno and the other airports, training for San
And
Francisco a lot.
the Canada 777, sorry about that, but which transition did you give us?
It's what you filed. So it's the Candle 4 and then the Bay transition. So that's Echo Bravo Alpha Yankee Echo transition. And then as filed.
Got that in there, thanks. Just be advised, we don't have the Kendall 4 in our FMC, we have the Kendall 3. Would that be okay?
It should be fine. Uh, Usually the versions don't differ that much when it comes to um, the departures here in Oakland, but yeah, it should be fine. Let me just make sure Senna's okay with it.
Yeah, check with Brett. That sounds good.
Oakland ground, Skyhawk 7 Charlie Bravo.
Skyhawk 7 Charlie Bravo, Oakland ground, go ahead.
Good evening, Oakland ground, Skyhawk 7 Charlie Bravo, plot 9. Requesting a northbound VFR departure with information Zulu.
November 7 Charlie Bravo, you are on the ground at San Francisco. I am Oakland ground. Contact Oakland Center on 132.2 for your clearance.
My apologies, so sorry about that.
And no problem. So if we were in a voice channel, I'd just say the same thing, but since Brett's streaming, I don't want to disturb him, so I'm just going to send him a quick text. Candle 3, not the candle 4. Is that okay with you? And then I'll just wait for a response back. For the time being, under approved MB. All right. And we just say our initials to confirm that he said it's okay. So this man's cleared. I'll show it to reflect. Air Canada 777 changed route to read Candle 3 departure Bay transition and then as filed. Rest of clearance unchanged.
Kendall 3 Bay for 777.
Yep. Simple as that. not unusual that pilots don't have the latest AIRAC, but when it comes to departures out of Oakland, it's not the end of the world. There isn't drastic changes. So, yeah, we're good to go. When you're going to LA,
And Cannon 777 ready for pushback.
Air Canada 777, push and start is at your own discretion. Call me for taxi.
Yeah, Roger, you said that. We forgot to say about that. We'll push on the 7 o'clock taxi. Thank you.
No worries, you're good. So yeah, a lot of things I missed on that clearance.
I mean, one of my friends got yelled at and told to disconnect by JFK for not for pushing without his permission, so not taking any chances.
I see. Okay, so well, the rule is that if you're pushing onto an active taxiway, so in Oakland that isn't a problem, but especially in Kennedy, if you in San Francisco, if you're on the ends of the terminals, if you push straight back, you're gonna step onto an active taxiway. At that point, then you would want to request a push and start clearance, just so that you don't interfere with any planes taxiing.
Yeah, we figured. Roger that. Thanks for your clarification.
No worries. So yeah, so how that works is LA is east of Oakland, and so east will have odd altitudes filed. If he was going to Seattle, we'd put him on 320, and the route for that would be Oakland 5, probably to Grateful. Let's go Red Bluff. You could go Climate Falls, and then what is the arrival into
And Cannon 777 ready for taxi.
Air Canada 777, runner 30, taxi via Tango Uniform Whiskey. Confirm you have ATIS information Golf.
We have Golf, taxi 30, Tango Uniform Whiskey for Cannon 777.
So that's the route that I would give for a Seattle person. 320 is a completely fine route. It's even. Um, Seattle's to the west of Oakland, so that's why I would give them an even routing. And then if you look on FlightAware, I'm pretty sure that's the route from Oakland to Seattle. Let's double check. So if we plot it, we can see that there. The other was this Deadhead, which is also fine. It doesn't really matter. So, all right, cool. So now he taxis. We check a few things. If he wasn't squawking the assigned squawk, which is 3210, it would blink at us, kind of like that code thing saying, hey, he's not squawking it right. If we look at his little dot, we see that it's in a little star. If it was a comma, that means he's not squawking in mode Charlie. And since Oakland's a class Charlie, you need a mode C within it. Now, at this point, I'd hand him to Tower, since Tower's online center takes that responsibility. So now I say, Air Canada 777, contact Oakland Center now on 132.2.
On to center for Cannon 777. Have a good night.
See ya.
See ya.
Just make sure I changed everything back from the Seattle route. Cool. Amended, cleared, done with the flight strip. Now he's done. If I wanted to find Air Canada 777 and it was super busy at Oakland, good trick is if you type in the call sign and then click that aircraft select button from our VSC settings. Bam! You can see that aircraft 777, Air Canada 777 pops up and turns yellow on our radar. So yeah, that's a standard IFR clearance. Pretty standard routing. You'll see a lot of people, especially when you're in San Francisco. A lot of people are going to file San Francisco to LA, especially because 2020. Um, but yeah, there's your standard routing. And I could use the alias if I wanted to, but there's some routes over time you'll just learn in your head. But that's pretty much how it goes for controlling. The next event will be in 2 days. It'll be a VFR mostly event up in Reno. I'll be back on Reno ground. That'll be fun. Um, I'll probably stream that. But yeah, that's the Vatsim network from pilots to ATC. So hope you guys enjoyed this little long tutorial, pretty in depth. Um, but hopefully, depending on whatever path you want to follow, pilot, ATC, I do both. Um, I hope you guys have fun because Vatsim is a great network for aviation enthusiasts to hop on, especially during the times we're stuck at home. So, see you guys next time.